Thank you for listening. This is the Legends Podcast by All Day Vinyl, and I'm your host, Scott Duddleson. After you finish this episode, please subscribe, rate, and check us out on Instagram and YouTube at All Day Vinyl. Today I'm excited to present this special oral history of the making of Warren Zevon's Grammy-winning album, The Wind, featuring a reunion of two key players in the creation of the album. With me is Jorge Calderón, one of Warren's closest friends and lifetime collaborators, who co-produced the album and co-wrote several of the album's songs, including Keep Me in Your Heart. Also with me is Noah Scott-Snyder, close collaborator of Zevon's and the co-producer and engineer and mixer on The Wind. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So we talked a little earlier about My Ride Is Here and how that set the stage up for The Wind. So maybe, Jorge, you could take us into...
Warren called me and he said that he had just finished, it had come out. The CD came out of My Ride's Here, and he wanted to immediately go into something else. He felt that he stretched himself thin, co-writing with a lot of folks in that album, and it was like a big to-do, and it was at times very stressful. And anyway, he felt that he wanted to just do another record, and he told me that since all the years that we've written together, he used to tell me, man, we're in the same wavelength. There's a joy every time we get together. We come up with the goods right away, and it's like we have fun doing it. There's no hassles. So let's do it. Let's do a record and we'll write a shitload of songs, and let's do it. So he took me on a ride on his Corvette. He played me one of the songs from that My Ride Is Here, Genius, I guess, because he felt that, real good about that one. And he should have. It's great. So that was it. Then we started kind of thinking about doing that. But what happened was that we used to go to the movies once in a while. He was a big Clint Eastwood fan, and I was too, through the years. We used to go all the Dirty Harry movies and everything. So he called me, hey man, there's I think it was Blood Work, some Clint Eastwood movie. He said, let's go see Blood Work, and I said, okay, great. So we went in the Valley, I think at the Galleria place, and so we were walking up to the thing, and he was kind of like, can you slow down? I'm kind of out of breath, and I said, oh man, really? So let's walk slower. And I said, are you okay? Should you, maybe it's your heart, maybe it's your heart. You should, maybe there's blockage or something, and you should go see the doctor. I said, yeah, I'm going to try that. So we went, saw the movie, had great fun and everything, and that was it. That was it. Like a week and a half later, he called me. I went to see the doctor, and it's not good. And he said, I have lung cancer. And it was terrible, I reacted very badly. I kind of actually fell on the floor on my knees. I had the phone, and I just kind of went down and kneeled on the floor, and I could hardly speak. And my late wife, grabbed the phone, and she talked to him for a while. Oh, Jorge, it's right now he's not doing well, so then she gave me back the phone. And that's what it was, man. It was terrible news. But later, he called me back the next day or something and told me, because when he called me back, I said, dude, forget the album, forget the record. You got to get yourself seen, you got to get treated, and maybe just like go with your kids over, on a trip or something, do something, but forget the record. He said, no, I want to do this record. I wanted this to be my last work. I want to leave it, leave something behind for my kids, and let's do this. Can you do this with me? And I said to him, the only thing I ask is for us to now that we know that this is like this, just know about the reality, but keep going with two things. We're going to be totally honest with each other about everything, and we're also going to get into the music and have fun. Even though the reality is very serious, we're going to have fun with the music. And he agreed. He said, yeah, let's do that. And that's how that we approached it. So from then on, it became more of a different record, because when we started writing the songs became more about realer things and more about not really death, but the end of things and or relationships that you loved that you wanted to talk about. We did that, and actually the first song we started, I said to him, "But what do you have? Do you have something?" He said to me that he had a few songs. He had "Dirty Life and Times," and he had that other ballad. What's the name of the? "She's Too Good for Me," or yeah. "She's Too Good for Me," and I hadn't heard those songs. And I said, "Well, what else do you have? You have any idea of something that we can work on?" He said, "Well, I had this girlfriend that I really, I really want to write a song to her. It's like the one that got away or something." I knew who he was talking about. I knew her, and so she was Puerto Rican, so he wanted to have a refrain, a chorus in Spanish, and he said, "I know you don't want to do too much Spanish," because there was a thing that happened. I did Veracruz with him,
of course,
and it was great, and it was a Spanish refrain. But for a while, I was, people would call me to do that, and I would go, "Dude, I just want to do rock and roll. I don't want to sing stuff in Spanish." So, and he said, "I know you want to." I even have a message on my answering machine, him telling me, "I know you don't want to do it, but I think on this one we have to." So he told me exactly what he wanted to say, and so I translated his thoughts into that. And then the way that we did a lot of songs on the Wind, it was at rapid pace. He would call me and he would say, "Well, I have this idea, get started with it." So I would kind of like jumpstart the song. So on that one, Amor de mi vida, it became Amor de mi vida. I started writing, I fall asleep, you reappear, kind of thinking like I fall asleep when you go into my dream. And so I would tell him and he would tell me the next two lines, and then I would write something else and tell. So back and forth like that, we wrote the whole song. And that's how we did a lot of stuff that we did, so then he told me about Noah, that he was doing it with Noah, and so that's how I think I met Noah on the time that I went to Sunset Sound to do the bass on
Dirty Life and Times.
Yeah. And the other one, She's Too Good for Me.
Yeah, and then we very quickly had Ry in on Dirty Life and Times.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that happened. That's what happened. Like he wanted to do all this stuff, but he was thinking, well, who can I get? And he told me, I would love to have David Lindley come back, because David had played with him off and on since the first album for Elektra, and he played on Detox Mansion and other things. He loved David, and so I said, "Yeah, I can call David right away, and I'm going to call Ry." And he said, "Ry, he doesn't want to play with me, because there's a little story, and I'll tell it."
And we're talking about Ry Cooder, right?
Yes, Ry Cooder.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ry Cooder. The way he reacted like that to me mentioning I'll call Ry Cooder was because Boom Boom Mancini back then on whatever album that was.
Sentimental Hygiene.
Yeah. Sentimental Hygiene?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So he had asked me to get, because I was playing with Ry Cooder's band through the 80s. So I told him, yeah, I'll call Ry. But I called Ry, and Ry was doing a lot of soundtracks for movies. And when Ry got into doing a soundtrack, it was a big job, He had to, he's not like, he doesn't write music and stuff. It's all like put together by him.
It's a demanding job.
It's a demanding job.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was like little TVs, big TVs for the little, he was, and he got into it, and man, he was great at it, of course. But what I'm getting at is that when he was doing that, it was
no.
It was hard. It was hard to do anything else, peripheral to that. So he said, "No, man, I'm too. I cannot. So, but Warren took, and I told him, man, he's just too busy with the soundtrack. But Warren didn't see it like that.
Yeah, Warren. That's the kind of thing Warren would carry a grudge about.
Exactly.
And then he said,
yeah.
What did he say when Ry finally? I had to do his die to get him to play on my record.
That's right. That's right. He said that. Oh my God. Yes, that's right. But well, he was like, oh, he'll never play with me. He told me, and I said, dude, let me ask him. I said, oh, he went away. But Ry was good. He said, no, let me do this, and he came, and he did it.
And he was brilliant.
He was brilliant, especially on. Yeah. Listen, Ry on both songs, on "Dirty Life and Times." Well, let's talk about "Dirty Life and Times" first, because we had the track. Not even with drums, right?
No, drums came almost last.
Yeah, it was Henley. Yeah, overdub drums. Yeah. Okay, so "Dirty Life and Times," which is a great song, great lyrics. I mean, totally Zevon. Yeah. Great lines. I love that song.
I also love, just as a side, I love the guitar on "Dirty Life and Times." It reminds me of like Crazy Horse. Just a really, groovy country, laid back. So
dig it. So Ry comes into play, and we're, he's doing the thing, and at first he's doing this like glory, because Ry doesn't play a wrong thing. He just plays glorious things every minute, every second. So he's playing all this beautiful, like bluesy country thing, but it was almost like soundtrack-like. It was just too good for the song. So he did like 2 or 3 takes, and we were like, yeah. But I said, since I knew him very well and I worked with him, I just went to him and I said, it's great what you're doing. It's beautiful, man. But you want to take this one to the Roadhouse? And I went away. And just telling him that, it's like a director telling an actor, giving him a little note to fix his thing. Man, I just told him, take it to the Roadhouse. And that take that you hear, that song, that's the take he did after I said that.
So good.
Because, he knew what I was saying. So that was a wonderful thing. But also on Prison Grove, he played just an amazing. He was feeling it. He knew what the song meant, and he knew what Warren's predicament was.
Yeah, and that was quite a different setup, because we came back together. Yeah. Also at Sunset Sound.
Right.
But in the big room.
And
that's with Warren playing piano and David Lindley playing. Yeah. And Jorge playing. So that's like the whole band. Yeah. That was, and we did 3 songs.
No, we did 2. We did
Numb as a Statue.
Numb as a Statue and Prison Grove.
Just those 2. Okay.
Yeah. And Lindley was there. He played on Numb as a Statue, and Ry played on Prison Grove.
Right.
Ry didn't want to play on the other one. He didn't.
But Lindley played the saws on Prison Grove.
Oh yeah. They both played. Yeah. But dig this. I'm later on. I'm at the NAMM show, one time a year after that record or whenever
Which
it was.
Which is a music gear show.
I met it right.
Yeah.
It's a music thing. Yeah. So I met up with Jackson. I was going up these escalators, and I saw Jackson, and we were like, hey, man, so he took me, let's go to Gibson. He went to Gibson and showed me all these guitars, and then John Sebastian was there. Mm-hmm. And I met I had met him before, but John Sebastian was there, and when Jackson told him, hey, Jorge Calderón, he's he just produced The Wind with Warren Zevon and Noah Snyder, and he went, man. The first thing he said to us was, man, Ry Cooder on that record. That's the best playing he's ever done on any record. That's what John Sebastian told me, and I went, well, if you say so. I mean, but it's great.
It is.
It's up there.
But he felt it. That's what it meant to me, is that Ry, what he did, touched this guy in a place that he went, whoa, dude.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of player he is.
Yeah, all the steel playing and the slide playing on that album.
It's pretty heavy.
Right?
It's pretty heavy slide album.
You have Lindley, you have Joe Walsh, you have Cooder.
And Randy
Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Who, holds up, man.
Oh,
he's
man.
He's right there with these legendary guys.
Yeah, Randy, I know for a long time in L.A., and way back in the 70s, actually, going into maybe 79 or something like that. And he happened to be playing with Billy Bob in Thornton and in his band when we were at Billy's house, and the band was there, and he had a studio there, and Warren said,
story,
tell us the story about how knocking on heaven's door.
He said, hey Billy, do you think we can try a song downstairs? And Billy said, yeah, let's go. And he wanted to do Knocking on Heaven's Door. And I said, really? You want to do Knocking on Heaven's Door? And said, that kind of like too close
to the mark?
Too close, yeah. And he said, no, I want to do it. I said, okay. So then there was a thing about let's make sure about the lyrics and the chords. And I said, I have a CD in the car of Dylan's greatest hits, or one of them. And I brought it in, and we listened to the song. We got the chords right, and then we reminded ourselves of the lyrics, and we just cut the song. And Randy, it was like, I think we did half a take, and then the next take is the one that got recorded, I think.
There wasn't a lot of takes, and there wasn't any overdubs.
Right. It was live.
Yeah.
It was live. And Randy just blazed through it.
Blazes.
And he is right up there with all the slide on that record, with Ry, with Lindley, with Joe Walsh, and Randy, just like beautifully, man. And it that record, in the aspect of slide playing, is kind of like a workshop for guys that like that stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Want to play it.
And then on Knocking on Heaven's Door, there's kind of like what's called a mutual admiration society between Dylan and Warren, right?
Yes, I was told, I haven't heard it, but I was told that on that show that Bob Dylan had called the
Sirius show.
It was
Old Time Radio
Radio Hour or something.
His show.
Forget what it was. I'm sorry, Bob.
Theme.
So he had a one show where he had the top 10 versions of his song, Knocking on Heaven's Door, and when it down to one was Warren's song, our track, and it was like,
and he would cover Zevon songs.
The Mutineer. What's Warren's reaction to having Dylan?
And didn't he cover Muhammad's Radio, which
I don't know about that. I know that when Warren was when we were doing The Wind with Warren, Dylan was on his live shows. He did Mutineer. Accidentally Like a Martyr, and I think Lawyers, Guns and Money.
And then there was a song from My Rides Here that he would do, that he did on the tribute album.
Did he do Mutineer?
It was Mutineer. Mutineer is from the album Mutineer.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember.
Which is a song. It's a fantastic song.
Amazing song.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful song, and it's a song that Warren wrote for his fans. You're my witness, I'm your mutineer. He told me, I wrote that for my fans, and I think it went over their heads because nobody really mentions that. But that's the kind of writer he was. He would get a thought and do it, and it's a majestic song. It's a beautiful song, and Dylan's version is is fucking great,
Oh, yeah.
man. We used it on the tribute album.
That's
I
right.
think it was a live show in Australia he did. But anyway, getting back to what we were talking about, I don't know what it was.
We were talking about knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah,
right?
Knocking on
And,
Heaven's Door. Yeah, so there were a lot of people at Billy's house that night. So there was this guy from Styx, right?
Tommy Shaw,
I'm a show.
Right. And there was another
Steve
guy that was a
Gorman.
singer.
The
Black
drummer.
Rose.
Drummer.
From Black Rose, played great.
Right, played great. Right.
From the Babies, John Waite.
John Wayne.
That's right.
Yeah.
He sang some parts with Warren.
Sings good.
So it was a thing that everybody was supporting Warren, and he wanted to do this. And then Warren sounded so, it's like, raw and just not emotional. It's just like immediate. It's like so real,
Yeah, real.
And he did that on other songs too, because actually Ry Cooder had that comment to me at some point when he played on those songs before. He says, "Man, it's like he has to. It's like listening to a Billie Holiday track where she just is putting her heart on the table. That's what Warren's doing right now."
Yeah.
He tells me. Yeah, I said, "Yep, that's what he's doing."
And in the shape that Warren was in, he fell off the wagon at that point. Is that right?
Well, yes, that I found out a little late because I think he was trying to hide it from me, even though I totally understand,
Yeah, of course.
but I found that out just when he went to do the Letterman show. I found that he had been drinking. And when he came back, he told me, and I said, "Dude, if you were afraid to talk to me about this, don't worry. I mean, I would have, God knows what I would do if I was contemplating, the end of my days with cancer, and I would have been maybe doing even crazier shit, So don't worry. As long as as when we go to the studio, you don't drink. We go there and we do this thing, and there you can do whatever you want." And they said, "Okay, let's do that." But
Right.
but
But it didn't always work out that way.
it worked that way.
It was a journey.
Yeah, it was a journey, and of course, it was. We were handling. I said me and Noah and some other close people. His manager at the time, a woman, Bridget Barr, that was taking care of him daily, and not taking care of him, but taking him to stuff that he needed to go. We were all with loving hands and loving, we just treating him like, family. It was a very listen, man. And I'm sure Noah. I put my best soldier thing throughout the thing. I kept my. We must finish this. We're gonna do this. My best thing. When it was all over, I came down hard.
Yeah.
Came down hard.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, so when Warren contacted me about it, so we'd said at the end after my rides here, and it wasn't that long afterwards.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. He's like, "I really would, would like to work with you again on the next record," and of course I wanted to do that. And I mean, I remember getting the call, and I was in my friend's backyard, and he said, I have a terminal cancer diagnosis, and I want to make a record right now, and I want you to get to work. And so it was I totally did the same sort of thing where it was like, "Yes, sir.
Yeah. We're
going to do this," and I'm the young, able-bodied one here, so whatever you need, and indeed, at first, like when we were recording at Sunset Sound, and we had the whole band together and stuff, and we were on a mission of joy, explicit mission of having a good time. We were having an amazing time, and it was super fun, and all the people were showing up, and VH1 is recording us, and
that's right.
And and Warren was in good spirits, and you couldn't tell there was anything wrong with him per se. and but as much as easy and as fun those first, say, 4 songs were, the last 4 songs were
extremely hard.
Extremely difficult in every way imaginable, particularly keeping it together emotionally to believe that we were going to have a record still.
Yeah, we almost didn't have a record.
Because we were really, 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 really close to not having a record.
Yeah, that's true. And we can talk about that. At first, all those songs like Numb as a Statue, and they came out really fast. I would write, like I said, I would write the first verse, and he would love it, and and laugh, and oh man, I love that, and he would say, actually, let me tell you about, he calls me from, this is how things would happen. He called me, and he's in front of a drugstore in West LA. Jorge, I'm numb as a statue, and I gotta beg, borrow, and steal to get some feelings from you, so I can get some feelings too. And he's talking to me. He's not giving me the title of a song. He's just making that joke with me. It's like, I'm so numb from these drugs that they're giving me, the painkillers, that And I go, dude, that's great. And I wrote it down. And he said, oh, yeah, right. Well, yeah, I guess it is great. So I went and I wrote the first verse, and I get it back to him, and he starts laughing. And that's how we ended up writing that song. It's all about, and I wrote it because at the time he was, getting all these bills, seeing these girlfriends that would come to his house and have a good time. And he wanted to have a good time. And he was having a good time. Yeah. So I wrote all that, I don't care if it's, I wrote, I don't care if it's superficial. You don't have to get down deep. Just do enough for the ritual. I was giving him all these lines, and he was loving it. So we finished that song and on to the next one. So the thing with, then when he went to New York to do the Letterman show, I had told him about Prison Grove, and he said, yeah, maybe. But while he was there, I started writing Prison Grove, and I said, well, if he likes it, great. If not, So I wrote like 3 verses and put it on some kind of groove on a guitar. And when he came back, he said, yeah, I like this, but you've written so much, I don't know. I said, well, write some more verses, So he wrote the last verses. But what Noah is trying to say is that at one point he stopped coming to the studio. He just stayed at home, and he was drinking, and he didn't feel good, and he was like not really wanting to come to the studio or sing anything. So me and Noah had to like keep charging, keep charging forth. And doing tracks of songs that we knew that were going to happen.
Yeah, that we weren't sure we had a lead singer for.
Exactly.
And he actively was saying stuff like, "Oh, Jorge, you've got to sing these last songs."
Right.
Which, believe me,
right.
Like the record company was clear, like, we're not accepting a Warren Zevon song with someone else singing the song.
I was the first one to tell him, are you kidding me?
No, we're like, come on.
No, I can't sing these songs. You got to sing the songs. No, Jorge, no, man, you got to sing them. And I said, well, listen, I can't sing these songs. Don Henley can't sing these songs. Nobody can sing these songs. You have to sing these songs. So it was like a thing of trying, I don't know, man, I can't do it, and that kind of thing. But the same thing would happen with Keep Me in Your Heart. Yeah. We had written Amor de mi vida, and we had written all the other songs, but Keep Me in Your Heart was one that almost didn't get written because every time that I would write something and give it to him, I mean, he wrote the first verse, finally. Because at first, he before we even started recording, I said, what do you have? And he told me about those 2 songs we mentioned before, but then he said, well, I have this other one called Keep Me in Your Heart. And I said, man, that you have to write that. That's your song. You have to write that. I don't want to, just you do it. But then every time I would ask him, it would be, I don't know, man. I haven't done anything with it. So when it got to later on, as we are going through the whole project, he finally told me, well, I have the first verse, shadows are falling and I'm running out of breath, keeping your heart for a while. The thing about, I forget the words now, and I know that song. If I leave you, it doesn't mean I love you any less, keep me in your heart. And the whole thing about the train, there's a train leaving nightly. So then I said, great, keep writing. And then we're working on Disorder in the House. And we were working on that other song, and we were trying to get the tracks together with Jim Keltner. And I go back to him and I go, anything else and keep me? So he finally told me, which is heartbreaking, but he finally told me, Jorge, I can't do it. Too painful. Mm. You have to help me with this one. At the point I said, dude, I don't know if I can help you with this one. It's just too heavy, And he said, you can do it. You've done it before with me. So put on your songwriter's hat, like you've done before, and help me with this one. So I went ahead and I started writing the second verse, and I wrote the bridge and the other verse, and I think one line I had to, and I played it for him on the phone, and he was like playing the bridge, anyway, and he tells me, I don't know, man. And I remember having the pad with Hold Me in Your Dreams, like the bridge. Where is it?
Hold me your thoughts, keep me in your dreams.
Yeah, hold me in your thoughts, take me to your dreams. Touch me when I fall into view. With the music,
Yeah.
The whole thing with the music. And he says, I don't know, man. And I remember having the pad, and I took a red pen that I had, and I just crossed it. I said, he doesn't want this. So I put it aside. I said, we'll think of something better. And I just, that way, I said, well, but then the more time passed, it came to a point where he finally, I think with people that were around him, some girlfriends that he had and stuff that read the words and went, this is fucking great. What are you thinking? He finally said, yeah, it's good. Let's do it. So what I had crossed out became the song that you hear now. And then it was the chore that we had, me and Noah had, was getting him to sing it.
Yeah.
Where we had to, Noah will tell you, we went to his house, right?
Yeah. So we went.
Tell me about there's some footage of that in the VH1.
Yeah, and it wasn't just one song. That sort of was the one that got captured on video, but we had multiple vocals to finish.
Yeah, Amor de Mi Vida was one.
Yep.
Rub Me Raw.
Yep.
Was the other one.
Yep.
That we had. I had done the track with Keltner, and he, that one was like it was a funny one because we were in the studio trying to get his vocal for Disorder in the House, which is another story, but I'll cut back into that. Yep. And he and me and Noah were trying to comp his vocal from the couple of tracks, and he comes like, rub me. He tells me in my ear, and I go, rub me raw. And I keep working with Noah, and he goes away, and he comes back with his notepad, rub me raw. He says, everything I do seems, everything I need seems to be against the law. And I go, yeah. I told the fortune teller, keep it to yourself. I'm telling him this stuff, and that's kind of like the way we used to work. He would say something, I would say something, he would say something, and pretty soon we had verses.
Amazing.
So but then that stopped there. And then he ended up in his house, and he wouldn't write anything. So I ended up writing tons of lyrics for the song, and going back to him and say, okay, I wrote a whole bunch of shit. You tell me what you like here, and we'll get rid of it or not. But he finally, liked it. And I think he changed one line, and we did the song. But getting back to Disorder in the House, because it involves Bruce Springsteen, which is a great little story, was that one night he called me. He says, last night, one morning, he says, last night I was writing stuff and it sucked. I wrote a whole bunch of lines and they sucked, but this one thing I liked, Disorder in the House. And I went, oh yeah, that's got to be a rock and roll song. It's got to be like, like Mick and Keith kind of song, and he says, yeah, so write something. So I started writing the first verse, and so we actually got back together. I went to his house, and then we went into the second verse, and we wrote the whole song, lyrics. So then he calls me, and he says, let me sing the song the way I hear it. When he started singing the song, it sounded like a Bruce Springsteen rock and roll song, Disorder in the House, kind of thing. Yeah. And I went, dude, that sounds like Springsteen. And he said, oh, really? Well, that's great. The next morning he calls me, guess what? Remember what you told me yesterday? That it sounded like, guess who called me? And it was like Springsteen saying, hey man, anything I can do for your album. So what I'm getting at is that The Wind was an album that the pieces kept falling into place, kind of like we were in a sailboat and the wind was blowing our sails, because everything kept happening up until the part that now we have talked about how hard it was, the end of it. But it kept falling, the pieces kept falling and falling and falling, and the hard part was the end. That's what happened.
Well, tell me a little more about the recording of Disorder in the House and Springsteen there.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. Well, we had to put the track together because we had written the song, the words, and he had put it in the melody and music that he wanted. But then he wouldn't come to the studio, so it was our gig was to do a track for it. So that's what we did. Me and Jim Keltner. I played acoustic and he played drums. We kind of like got the track going, and I overdubbed bass, and then we got it ready for Bruce to come in and play. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
And it was I remember that it was in December. It was December 17th, or something like that. Yeah, it was December 17th. And we did that, and then December 18th, Bruce came, and he played guitar and he played a 6-string bass or something.
Yeah, baritone guitar.
Baritone guitar. He played a baritone guitar, and then he played a tally.
Yeah.
And he played a tally like a mean tally, and then he was going through. We rented an amp from SIR or something.
I think it was a studio amp. I think it belonged to Cherokee.
Okay, it was a Cherokee.
It's a Fender
it was
Brat Tweed amp.
No, I think it was one of those loud amps.
We had a selection of amps because we were jonesed. I was.
Yeah.
Because we were hosting Bruce Springsteen, and we were concerned that we wanted to please him.
That's right.
Right, and so we had a bunch of stuff, and then he just comes in, plugs into the Fender amp, dimes it, turns everything up all the way to 10.
Totally.
And he's happy as a clam,
Yeah, happy as a clam. Well, the thing was that he got his track, and he played the shit out of it, and then when we went to see the amp was busted, man. The speaker was gone.
He died. He killed it.
He just killed the amp.
Yeah.
But we got the track done, and it was a happy thing. And Bruce is a great guy, a very warm, great guy, and it was a good thing. It was a good thing for Warren. I took that photo of them. It's on a booklet for the vinyl, and they just like he was so happy to have Bruce there with him, and do that. And you see it on that video
Yeah.
where he's playing it. You're that guy, you know. It's like he loved it. So it was a wonderful thing.
The thing was, Bruce was one of the, there were a lot of people donated their time and were incredibly generous to their schedules and stuff to come and help Warren. But Bruce scheduled this thing in the middle of his 180 night tour. He's got one night off.
Exactly.
It's the night between the show in Minneapolis and the Philadelphia. He was totally inconvenient.
Yeah.
He flies all the way to LA. We have one session with him, and so Jorge remembers the dates because we were like we had to have it ready. It was the day he was coming. Yeah. There was no other fallback thing, and so we were a little bit stressed, candidly. Yeah. I remember being stressed anyway. I remember the one time Warren's manager yelled at me because she was like, "We need this." I'm like, "Look, I know we need the fucking track. Like, I'm pretty sure I got that message. Like, we're working hard over here." She's like, "Don't talk to me like that." But then when Bruce arrived, Bruce is like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just it's joy, like overflowing,
nothing but joy.
Joy,
yeah.
And so it was this incredible relief to our stressed out souls, and even Warren, who's known him forever, like obviously I'd never seen him before in person, was like, wow, that was amazing. Yeah, like he came in and it was kind of. It was one of the most amazing displays of humanity I've seen. He gave us everything he had. Yeah, and
it wasn't, and also because it wasn't only Disorder in the House. Prison Grove, he sang for us on the harmonies with him, and that was a great. Yeah,
he sang, he played, he was joyful, he was not.
Yeah.
It wasn't challenging. It was fun.
Yeah. So he's a good fellow.
Amazing. And there's so many incredible musicians that play on it. We've talked about Bruce and Ry Cooder and David Lindley, Jim Keltner. And we didn't talk about, though, Timothy Schmidt, Joe Walsh, Don Henley. How do you cast the musicians? Like you said, Disorder in the House, you heard that was a Springsteen song. Sound like Springsteen.
When he sang it to me that way, I said, that sounds like a Springsteen kind of rock and roll thing.
Yeah. How do you cast everybody else and know, like, this is the one that Henley does drums?
Okay, so Warren wanted Don Henley to play drums on that Dirty Life and Times. So what we did was we went to A&M Studios where the Eagles were doing a record, and Don Henley and Timothy Schmidt. Yep. They were there, and so they did. Warren wanted them to sing on She's
Too Good for Me.
She's Too Good for Me. So they did that, and Beautiful. They were like, "Oh boy!"
Yeah, it was like, "Oh my God!" It's the Eagles.
Instant beauty, right? So they
one mic.
Yeah, one mic.
First take. You're just like, "Oh my God, it's them."
Yeah, so it's like that. So they did that, and then. Don sat up on the drums. We pulled the other track, and he played drums on the other song. That's how we did that. Now, other things happened, which we wrote this song. He calls me in the nighttime, and he says, "I got this other title," because sometimes it would be a title. He would say, "Well, I got this title," and he says, "The Rest of the Night," and I go, "Wow." That's okay. So that's going to be like a real soulful, serious thing. No, I mean, let's party for the rest of the night. And I went, okay, great. So we started writing this song about partying because, like I said, he had his girlfriends come in and out, and he was having a great time. And so I started writing stuff, and he did, and we came up with Let's Party for the Rest of the Night. Which was kind of like a release from all the serious stuff, like for example that one that he wrote by himself, that Please Stay. Please Stay, man. He called me one night. He said, "Man, I'm writing this song. It's kind of a Boodle O'Brien kind of song," and I said, "Yeah," and he played it for me. It's heartbreaking, man. Stay With Me Till the End. I mean, oh, fuck,
The
man.
recording of it is outrageous.
Really great. So he did that, but so the rest of the night was a total, really to have fun with it. And I remember that after the record came out, one reviewer reviewed the record and put down that song, saying, "Oh, that was a throwaway. Throwaway. It doesn't mix with the rest of the stuff." And I didn't call him, but my comment to him was like, "Dude, you don't know what you're talking about. This is as real as it gets. This is what's going on in Warren's life at the end. And I was there. You weren't there. We did this song because Warren didn't do throwaways, ever. So how dare you say it's a throwaway? This is the real thing."
Yeah, and I mean, who will you stay with me till the end, till there's nothing left but you and me and the wind?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
most people would be lucky to write just that line
Yeah, exactly.
in their life.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
that was,
let me answer the question
Yeah.
that Jorge didn't answer.
Okay.
Which is that Jorge is both really gifted at knowing which the sensibilities like he knows well all these guys you're talking about, like they've known each other forever, and so he knows their musical sensibilities really well. And so that's one half of it, to think like, oh yeah, we can get this guy, and I mean that gender neutral, this man or woman, to make a beautiful part here. But then don't forget who these people are.
Yeah.
It's not a bunch of session musicians you're calling in to come in and tell them, sing this, you know? These are people with delicate and
styles and
considerations. They have catalogs and it's not frivolous.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so they have to not only be able to make a beautiful part, but they have to believe in their presence in this piece of music, that it makes sense, that it's gonna be something cool. And so Jorge very tactfully inserted people in places where they could succeed and where it was going to work, not just in terms of the song, which it always did, but in terms of making those people felt like, because we had an abundance of riches, right? We had
at one point Warren was telling me, all these people, I don't want this to turn into a circus. I said, me either, man, but we're doing this and doing that. So once it got to Bruce, we kind of slowed down. And of course, he wanted, I said, when he did Please Stay, he said, I would like a harmony. I said, who do you want? He said, I want Emmylou Harris. And I went, dude, I'll find her. So I started looking around and finally got in touch, and she did a beautiful harmony to it.
Yeah. And when I mentioned that song, because that song is the one that's got the lyric, The Wind. Yeah. But there was a song, The Wind, which Billy Bob covered on the tribute.
Yeah.
Why did that song get excised?
Well, this is what happened. When we were doing when we ended up doing a tribute right after The Wind in 2004, we did a tribute for Warren. We were looking for songs to do, and people. So I found, and Noah had the computer of the stuff that we found a piece of that song that Warren was starting to write. He had never showed it to me while we were doing The Wind, but
I knew about it.
Oh, you knew about it?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
No, and he said to me, never take a song to say what you can say in one line. And it was mind-boggling to me. Wow. It was like, we're going to throw out a song? You have terminal cancer? We're going to throw out a song?
I see.
It seemed crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, the whole idea has been expressed in this line, and there's no need for this song anymore.
Right. But for the tribute, it worked. And what happened was this, that there was only a part, like a verse and a half or something, but it had the chords, so I just finished the song. Yeah. Like if we were together, because I kind of knew what we did. And so I finished the song, and I showed it to Billy to do. At first, I thought of a couple of people that could do the song, but we ended up with Billy, and he did it. Yeah, we did a track.
And I think it's worth mentioning that we also discovered that "Keep Me in Your Heart" had all these iterative
right
versions. So all this time he was throwing out all sorts of stuff. He was writing verses and verses, and he was chucking.
I'll tell you about that. I didn't know that at all until after he was gone, and after we had finished, that there was a tape of a song that said "Keep Me in Your Heart."
It was called "Only One Thing I Ask of You."
Yeah, the only one thing I ask of you is to keep me in your heart. And I heard this, I went, wow, he didn't tell me about this. When he told me, I cannot do this, you have to help me. And I'll say this because knowing him as well as I knew him, he didn't show me that song because it wasn't in the ditch. It wasn't digging in the ditch. It was very superficial. It was kind of like when he was...
It was almost... sounds like cheery.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Zevonian jig.
Yeah. It was and of course when he got the diagnosis, he kept making jokes like, oh, I hope I can be around before the next James Bond movie, and it's things like that, which was like, but he was like being cheery, but deep down inside, where he ended up at the end was, down there with the reality and the pain and the sorrow of it all. So when he was saying that, it was when he did that "Keep Me in Your Heart" version of that idea, was very tongue in cheek in a bit. Maybe that's not the way to say it, but when he asked me to join, he knew that I was going to go deep as he had gone deep. So, and that's what happened with "Keep Me in Your Heart." We wrote the real song. Now that other version, we have it, and we're going to include it as an extra, right?
That's the idea, yeah.
That's the idea.
So that may come out on
it may come out. And people can see like what I said with Dylan things, that you see something, oh wow, this is kind of like what was before this great thing,
Absolutely.
So, it's definitely instructive in terms of how far away it is from what the final song ended up as.
Right.
Someone who either writes songs or just thinks about how great songs are made, to like, wow, it's came a long way.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
it's totally different, and it just has that term "Keep Me in Your Heart," but it's not "Keep Me in Your Heart." The ending song, the one that Willie Nelson had, did beautifully recently. The other one that I wanted to say, because I didn't mention, was that on the rest of the night, which we would call the party song, with the lick, down, what would
the bonehead lick,
the bonehead lick.
Yeah.
He said, I want to have this bonehead lick, like a frat boy lick, right?
You can play with your left hand
so
in the air.
He took my jazz
like
master. I have a jazz master, a Cisco jazz master, and he said, well, play it on this one. It's like a venture sound. And so we put it on treble, and he did that. But then he wanted Mike Campbell from Tom Petty's band to play. So I called. Finally got a friend who had his number, and I called his house. So he gets on the phone. Of course, he knew, and he was, oh yeah, I'll be there. So it was great. He came and played fucking great. Great guy, great fucking player, man. Amazing player. Oh, Jesus, man. Yeah. He said, immediately, he said, man, I hear what I can do here. I can do this, and then I'll do this.
Yeah, he came up with two really cool parts. That ostinato and the other thing were just immediately and they're totally Campbellian.
Exactly.
Like you're like, oh yeah, that sounds like a rock song.
Yeah, totally. He did wonderful. So then at the end of the thing, I said, do you think that Tom might want to sing harmony on this?
Tom Petty.
Oh, is that when you asked him?
Yeah, Tom Petty. I said, as we were going out,
I remember that.
And I said, do you think that he would? He said, oh yeah, man. I'll give you the name, the number of his gal, the person that takes care of him. So I got that number and I called her, and she was really nice, and she said, "Oh yeah, let me, you know." And he was game, and he came with his wife, and he was a joy to be there. But the funny thing is this with Mike Campbell, because I remember on the phone before Tom came to sing, I said, "You know, the song is in G, and you have to hit this high G, like you have to hit that note." And you know, I know he hit it on Free Falling, but he says, "Hey man," this is Mike tells me, "Hey man, if he can't, just give him some helium, he'll do it." I said, "Okay, I'll give him some helium."
Yeah, and not only did he do it, he did it while he smoked 2 packs of cigarettes. Yeah.
Yeah.
With his wife right next to him. Yeah.
So that was the ending of a fun song within a heartbreaking record.
Yeah.
The rest of the night with Mike and Tom. It was wonderful.
I'm curious, you know, with all the stars that are on this record, and then the VH1 obviously followed and recorded it. How much of this did Warren see as, you know, in a career, as a marketing opportunity? This, because he put out a press release right after he was diagnosed with cancer, put out all this. Did he see it? Obviously, he's facing the terminal element of his life, but how did he view it as his career?
Okay, so listen. Remember when he told me, "I want to do this for my kids and to leave something behind." He was talking about not only a legacy, but you know, just some money, support money.
Yeah.
So he was looking at it. He wanted to sell this whole story about him being sick and doing a last album before Johnny Cash, before Bowie, and all these people that kind of did the same thing. But Warren was doing it for real. As soon as he got his diagnosis, he wanted to do a record, and he wanted to sell the story.
Yeah.
Well, and to put it in the context of what we talked about in the last discussion, and so he was a guy who was feeling like a little underappreciated by the world over the last couple albums, and my rights here, you know, Rolling Stone said it was top 50 albums of the year, but nobody bought it.
No, nobody.
You know, and so I think that there was a feeling like he would say, after I'm dead, then I'll be my songs will be really popular.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so there was a sense like that I'm going to get back to that high place where I deserved to be this whole time. And the record did get to number
14 or
16, yeah. I mean, it got up there with crazy hip hop albums and stuff.
Yeah, I remember looking at Billboard, and we were next to 50 Cent.
Yeah, and Chingy. Yeah.
Yeah. 50 Cent, baby.
Yeah.
You gotta have.
And how long?
And I think the other thing is, I think that he did, again, there was a pragmatic nature to Warren. There was a pragmatic nature to it, which I think that he always felt like, since he was sort of a songwriter, right, or a musician's musician, that having Neil Young or Jerry Garcia on the album was gonna help bring some eyes to him in a way that was important and valuable, you know. And so it mattered. It wasn't just it was a gag, you know.
Yeah. But he, like I said, when he said, "Let's not get this into being a circus," but he loved that we brought in Mike and Tom for that song. And I remember when we played it, we used to go. Now he was at home and he was in bed, and he was like, it's like he didn't want to go anywhere. But me and Noah used to go there and play him stuff and be with him. And play. I remember him asking us to play the rest of the night when it was finished with the guitar, Mike Campbell and Tom Petty, like 5 or 6 times in a row. Play it again, and we play it again. Play it again, that kind of thing. So he was like really relishing in the thing that he was doing this, and that was like kind of that and some help from his kids and everything, that he finally came back to sing the last songs, come out of this he was depressed, this
he
deep
gave himself
depression.
a chance to sing
he
the
gave
songs.
himself a chance because he was in a deep, deep depression.
But
And on top of that, drinking, scotch and stuff, that'll depress you even more. I mean, nobody can put yourself in that place.
Yeah.
There's no criticism, no judgment on what he did. Man, it was just hard to. I mean, there were times where I would go there and to try to work on something, and it was just, and I would go home because he was, it was just too much, too real.
And Jorge, there were times when we would go there, and you'd be saying you can do this.
Yeah.
And he'd be saying, no, I can't. And that would be our whole visit.
Yeah.
Would be Jorge saying, Warren, you're gonna do this. It's gonna be great. You got to get yourself ready.
Yeah.
You got to stop drinking for a couple days. Sing a little bit. We'll come in. We'll record it here. It'll be good. No, can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. And I mean, that was hard.
Yeah. It was tough. We didn't know if we were going to have a record, period. I mean, like Noah said before, we did not know until
And Jorge brought, like, every part of himself to bear on this thing. I mean, at the beginning, it was mostly writing the songs as quick as he could keep up with Warren because it was pouring out. And then it got to a point where we had to keep putting down these tracks without him. And then it got to a point where you had to get your friend to believe in himself one more time.
Yeah. No, it was a thing. The way I feel about it is that this is something that was meant to be between us. It was like something written in the stars that we were going to be such close friends and do work together. And at the end, I was going to be the guy who helped him do his last work. At the end, he told me, Jorge, this is our collaboration, and it's not even 50-50. It's like, you have done so much more. And I said, dude, I was here to do that, to help you do this. So I don't care who did what, but we're doing it, we're finishing it, Another thing that he would tell me, and the times that I would go there, and he would just like did everything and anything not to do when he needed to do. He would go like, grab my hand, Jorge, you have to keep keep the banner going, keep the thing going. Keep the thing going. Just keep write those songs and keep this gag going that we've had for years. And I go, dude, I'm I know what you're saying, but I'm not you. He said, no, but you're like me. You're not me, but you're like me. You all the shit that we've written together, it's like I couldn't have written it with anybody else. So he kind of told me, you have to keep this going. Now, after he's gone, I am me, and I do what I do. But as of late, I wrote all those, many songs with him. We wrote about 4 more songs that weren't recorded. So right now I'm thinking of what he told me to do, and I'm thinking, and also he wanted to do a record of all our songs, like re-record them, which would have been too much. But I'm thinking of doing that. I'm trying to do a record of all the collaborations that we had, including the 4 that nobody has heard.
Amazing.
Yeah. But it's all because of him grabbing my hand and going like,
keep it going.
Keep it going. Yeah. But we had a good thing. I mean, we were so compatible. Lyrically, I mean, mostly lyrically. I mean, there's some people that think that maybe I just helped him with a couple of chords, but no. He would say, "You're my lyricist," and I would go, "Yeah." We battled that lyrics from the beginning. When I started writing with Warren, I didn't have the like when Noah was saying insecure. You're insecure. He would. With Vera Cruz and the other songs that we started writing, I would jungle work and stuff like that. I would say, well, this is what came to me, but I don't know if he's going to like this. And I would give it to him. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. So with working with Warren actually gave me more confidence in what I was doing. It woke up in me that, yeah, I was good. I'm good at this. You know,
you just made a joke he liked. It made you feel like $1 billion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, I'm gifted with words.
And he would tell him, he would tell other people like, Jorge, he's like, you know, Spanish is, English is the second language, like Conrad, like Joseph Conrad. Yeah. And he would tell that to people. I would go, oh, please, Warren, don't say that. But, you know, he was a big fan, you know, and he would always mention me, which I appreciated very much. But like I said, he gave me confidence, and we got better and better as we went along. Every time we never gave up on anything. Every time that we sat down to write something, we wrote it. We never, oh man, we can't, you know, and then he would go write it with somebody else. It never happened. So I'm fortunate. I was fortunate to have a great ride with Warren.
Amazing.
Yeah, for years.
I want to ask you about, you know, one of his most famous quotes was from Letterman, where he says, "Enjoy every sandwich." Was that something that, if you know, did he make up that on the fly, or is that something that was part of his repertoire?
Know.
I mean, knowing what I know of Warren, I'd be surprised if he made it up on the fly, but he certainly didn't say it to one of us beforehand.
No.
But I bet he thought it up before he unleashed it.
Yeah, he must have, like, you know, he would try to get something that works really good to throw out, and that was a good one.
That's iconic. That's a great one.
And he had this incredible gift for treading between something that's sort of banal or almost cliche and deeply profound at the same time, or by putting things together that are ordinary on their own, but then when they're adjacent to each other, it's something totally perverse, you know. It's like turn the whole thing on its head.
Yeah, it's like Jackson Brown has said about him, that in one line he can you know, touch your heart, make you cry, or make you laugh, or you know, it's like in one line he can take you to all these places.
Yeah, and it can be incredibly familiar, but also this weird angle you've never looked at it before.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
he was very unique. I mean, there's nobody like him. And I don't think there ever will be, but I am really happy that people are getting more fascinated by his work, you know, younger people, because at the time, during the 80s, when he was having so much trouble, he couldn't get, you know, record deal and everything, I was thinking, all these songs, the young bands are not listening to these songs. They could do some of these songs, even on albums that nobody heard, you know.
Right.
I mean, but it happens now.
And then how Warren passed after the record was released, is that right?
Yeah, a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks. No, I think he passed before it was released.
No, I think that he was aware that we were.
Well, he passed away September 7th.
September, yeah. When did it chart?
In August, and the album came out in August. So it was.
Oh, you're right then. Yeah. So it charted in September or something like that. So it was just afterwards.
Yeah. So it was a few weeks before he passed away.
Did he ever give you guys any feedback or comments on his satisfaction with the record?
He said we're going to win a Grammy.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He did, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Oh, wow. Because he told me...
He would say that to Nick. To Nick
really?
Reed, the videographer. I'm going to win a Grammy and you're going to win an Emmy. That's what he would say.
It's funny because he told me this, okay? Because when we were doing Amor de mi vida and I sang the Spanish part that he wanted, I came in and made a joke, oh, and now we're going to get a Spanish Grammy, a Latin Grammy. and he told me, hey, man, the Grammys never got me, never understood me, just went over their heads. You know, I don't even want a Grammy. You know, but that was then. Later on, maybe he started saying that. But I didn't know we were going to get a Grammy.
No,
I really
remember
didn't
calling you the night before the nominations came out and to tell you, like, I hope you're not expecting.
No, I wasn't.
The Grammy people
I wasn't.
like our album. Like.
Dude, I wasn't even thinking about it. I remember going to your house because I was recording something with you, and all of a sudden you said, "Oh my God, 5 nominations!" Right? And I went, "What? Who?"
Was there a lobbying campaign from Artemis or
I
anyone
think
for it?
they might have. Yeah, I
They
think
must
so.
have, yeah.
Yeah, I think
but I
they
mean,
did.
as with everything else, it
I
could
was-
have been super impressive.
I had my hands were full with completing this work with Warren and doing it for him. So I wasn't thinking about who was doing what, business wise or Grammy. Grammy was the last thing on my mind.
Well, they love a story, and there was an associated story.
Yeah.
And the collection of people who involved themselves with it made it noteworthy, such that there was a performance at the Grammys.
Yeah.
Because you could have on stage Jackson Browne and all these people, and it was a worthy
Yeah,
performance for the
Billy-
Grammy performance.
yeah.
Billy
Billy Bob was there, and Timothy
Yeah.
was there, and who else was there? God, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting, but there were some. Oh well, Ariel was there, and Jordan, his kids, you know, Jackson Browne.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, worthy to note in that period at the end where it was getting hard. We were slowing down. We were and it was like we were pretending like we're the happy soldiers marching along. Oh yeah, we're getting these tracks done. Oh, they're dialed in real great. But meanwhile, we're running out of money, and they're not going to be done. And we know we can't finish them without the man. And like we pretty much hit the end of our budget.
Oh yeah.
And Jackson gave us carte blanche at his studio to another incredible blessing that helped us operate against the odds and finish that record when it was looking like we might not get it finished.
Yeah, I remember on Keep You in Your Heart, I had done the track with Keltner, an acoustic guitar, bass, and then Keltner, but then to play that tres that I played,
Oh yeah, we did it in my apartment.
In his apartment. He got some kind of gizmo thing going, and we did it there, and it sounds beautiful. But we were
that's where we were at. That's where we were at in the budget. We did the last overdub in my apartment.
Actually now now it's like 21 years ago or 22 years ago, whatever it was. But now that's what people do. They do it in their apartment.
We were ahead of the curve, baby. Yeah, we were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's all we do. We do it in my apartment, man. I did this record.
It's amazing. It's an amazing final album. It's amazing for Zevon's legacy. And incredible.
Yeah, he was very proud and happy, and he got to see the album and hear it, and he got to see the cover and everything. He just passed away before the release. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for all the great stories, the great
Thank
music.
you.
Thanks for
I appreciate it all.
Thanks for caring.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks.